pretty much out of a rookie quarterback. Only 2 incompletions in the whole game, 21 for 23, throwing for over 250 yards. And then you add in with that with the rushing touchdown as well, almost 40 rushing yards. I mean, he looked great. Rocky, first off, thanks for joining the show. And second, man, what did you think about this game last night with the Commanders and the Bengals?
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, man. Well, I thought it was an exciting game, and I think we got a peek into what quarterbacking will look like moving forward in the NFL with Jaden Daniels. I think guys like Jaden Daniels will be able to impact the game in ways that previous generations of quarterback won't be able to. When you talk about a guy that's able to run the ball proficiently and pass the ball with pinpoint accuracy, I mean, I was tremendously excited, and at the same time, I was terribly disappointed because the Washington Commanders drafted the very person I didn't want them to draft. They drafted
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, they drafted Jaden Daniels, and unfortunately, what has happened is that they have what I believe to be a competent quarterback moving forward. I would have much rather them drafted Drake May. But again, Jaden Daniels played marvelously. I don't think he could have had a more perfect game in that situation. And with the Bengals right now, and looking at Joe Burrow, I don't think Joe Burrow played that bad, right?
Yeah.
But when your defense is being shredded the way they were being shredded, I mean, it's just hard to keep up. It really is. And so, what I think ultimately is the issue with the Bengals is they have a competent quarterback. They have 2 dynamic wide receivers. Looks like the young running back that they have is going to be pretty good. But they have a defense that's like Swiss cheese. And when you have that, you're going to be in situations that you're going to have to outscore people. Now, when you play teams that have challenging offenses, that have challenging offensive issues, of course, they're going to probably win those games, probably going away. But when you play a top-notch quarterback or a competent offense, they could end up on the short end of the stick, considering how many points it's going to take them to win a game. Like, they scored 33 points last night and lost. That doesn't happen very much in the NFL, to be perfectly honest with you.
No.
You score 33 points, you're supposed to win the game. But unfortunately, they find themselves in a situation where they're 0-3. And to be perfectly honest with you, they're staring 0-4 right in the face, and they're going to have to come up with a big win in order to do it. My wife is a huge Bengals fan. She's from Cincinnati, so when they're doing well, we're doing well. And when they're not doing so well, she's wondering what's going on and want me to make sense of why they're not doing well. But in this situation, I don't. If you look at the Bengals and you look at their what they spend in the salary cap, and how much under the cap they are, it's not surprising that they're struggling on defense. Because in this league right now, you got to spend money in order to have a competent defense and a competent offense. And for whatever reason, they're just the program. Their football program does not go out and spend money on high-level free agents, nor it seems like they're in a position where they want to reward the guys that they draft. So the Bengals are, like I say, I think it's direct opposites in when you took where they're going. I think Washington, of course, is an ascending team, and the Bengals, unfortunately, they're a team that had some really high highs a couple years ago when they played in the Super Bowl, but ever since then, they've been on the downtrend. And I think they're going to, it's going to take something drastic change in philosophy, drastic change in philosophy in their organization for them to get back on the uptick. They may even still make the playoffs, but with that defense, I don't see them being able to compete with the better teams in the NFC.
Yeah, I don't see them being able to compete. I don't see them making the playoff. Yeah. I don't see them making the playoffs either, but like I said, only team to do it in the last 30, 40 years is the 2018 Texans. And with this Bengals, to your point, man, they're notoriously one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest franchise in the NFL. Notoriously, they don't want to pay their players. They don't want to spend that extra money. They're not really going to go out in free agency and try to get anybody. You've seen them let Jesse Bates walk to the Falcons. You see them let Cheeto Wuzier, who was a former Cowboy, they let him walk to the Titans. They let their guys go. They don't really pay their guys. They pay Joe. They've got T. Higgins on the franchise tag. They're in contract disputes with Jamar Chase. I don't think this organization is going anywhere, and I think you put it perfectly, Rocky, that they're going downhill. Kyrie, I'll start with you, and then I'll ask you, Rocky. Is it time to blow this team up, man? Do you keep Joe Burrow, lock him in, and start building around Joe? I mean, it's hard to say that because they've built around him already. But is it time to blow this team up and just try to see where you can go from here? Because I don't think they're going to get much any more squeeze out of this lemon per se. Kyrie, what do you think?
No, man, you can't break this up. You got to get a new GM. You got to get a new head of personnel. You let go of Jesse Bates and your logic behind that was we got to pay Jamar or Joe, one of these dudes, right?
Yeah.
You let the next guy go because you had to pay Jamar. None of those first two dudes gets paid, and then here we are, and you still ain't even paid Jamar. You got all these dudes because let all these dudes go because you got to pay these stars. And then you only paid one of them that you was letting all these people go trying to save money for. So you got to get a new GM, man. How you let Jesse Bates leave? Like, that's the best, probably top three safety in the game. Definitely performance-wise, statistically, he's been a top three safety. So you let him go because you got to pay Jamar, and then you don't even pay Jamar. You're worried about T. Higgins, man, but come on, man. Like, they fumbled literally every contract situation in the last 2 years, and I think they just need to cut ties with their GM or player personnel, whoever's handling the scouting and things like that. Oh, maybe not scouting, but definitely whoever's in charge of these contracts, man, because it's just not making sense. Now that we done seen all the dominoes fail, how they fell, it's looking like, oh well, that there was no logic behind that. You said you was doing this to save money for this guy who you didn't even pay. You still ain't paid. So why did we let those stars go, And now I'm just, because correct me if I'm wrong, we're only looking at Joe Burrow and T. Higgins as guys with contracts.
No, T on the franchise tag.
Oh, so you didn't even pay T. Higgins?
Nope.
So all these players you was letting go, these Pro Bowl caliber, some all-pro caliber players you was letting go in order to save money. You don't even pay the players that you was saving the money for. So what kind of sense do that make? You got talent, receiver, running back.
Well, let me say this. I don't think the Bengals like to negotiate in good faith. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, if you take a player, this is just my opinion, any player that ever had leverage with the Bengals, they've pretty much let them walk, as far as I'm concerned. They've always let them walk. They've never, when you look, Joe Burrow. You say, did they deal in good faith with Joe Burrow? Well, we know with quarterbacks, you're pretty much over a barrel as a team. You have to, when it's a guy with the caliber of Joe Burrow, you got to pay the going rate. You know what I mean? Whatever that going rate is. And you get T. Higgins on the salary cap. T. Higgins is you paying T. Higgins 21. In my estimation, right? You should have tried to get T. Higgins on a much fairer contract. I don't think T. Higgins is a $21 million player, right? But certainly, if you had offered him maybe 5 for $80, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Guarantee 60, something like that. You could get a player like that. T. Higgins isn't an all-pro caliber player, right?
Yeah.
But he is a high-level number 2. And so you negotiate a high level number two with it. The other money, and here's the reality is, what you're going to end up doing in this situation is getting Jamar Chase and requiring him to play on a franchise tag. That's what ultimately is going to happen.
Yeah,
you
unfortunately.
You play him on you put him on a franchise. T. Higgins is going to walk, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? You put Jamar Chase on a franchise, and then he walks. And then Joe Burrow is left out there in the cold. And what does that mean for the team as a whole? I just don't think, you have to have impeccable scouting, right? And I don't think their college scouting is very good. I do think they do really well with getting retreads. They used to just pick up all the Dallas retreads, and get those guys on a discount. But now in today's NFL, that just doesn't work out for you.
No.
It doesn't work out. They're literally playing about 5 players. They're paying Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Trey Hendricks, Orlando Brown, and Sheldon Rankins, and some guy named B.J. Hill.
Yeah, the D tackle.
Yeah, right. And if just think about this. Your money's tied up in Trey Hendricks, Sheldon Rankins, B.J. Hill, and defensive end Sam Hubbard, and you're getting shredded.
Yeah.
Defensively.
And that's the only place you're spending money.
Yeah. You don't have as far as secondary guys, you're not paying any of those guys. So, yeah, they're not to go too long on the Bengals, but the Bengals are at a crossroads. What are they as a football team, and what is the vision for them going forward? And unfortunately, I don't think their vision moving forward includes T. Higgins or Jamar Chase long term, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that is unfortunate because those guys are ballers. And the sad part is, the sad part to some and the good part, they just got to go, man. The Bengals don't want to pay anybody. They don't want to pay anybody. Yeah, they're going to pay Joe. I don't know why they paid Sam Hubbard all that money, because at one point I think he was making more than Trey Hendrickson before he got his deal. That didn't make any sense. They're paying one lineman that false starts and holds on almost every play with Orlando Brown. That's why he wasn't in Kansas City. That's why he's not in Baltimore anymore. And I'm not sure what the direction is with this. Well, I know what the direction is. The direction's going down, but should they blow it up? I'm not sure about blowing it up. I think you got to just pay the guys and just see what you can do from there. But it's the Bengals, so I would not be shocked whatsoever if they do blow it up. So Cincinnati, they fall to 0-3. They've got to try to find a way to get a win. I don't know where they're going to get it from, but they've got to try to find a way to get a win in there, or there's going to be some. Well, I know where they get it from. They play the Panthers next week. If they don't beat the Panthers, and we'll talk a little bit about the Panthers later because they ended up getting a win after they benched Bryce Young. But if they don't beat the Panthers, yeah, you got to just go ahead and blow it up. I know Jamar Chase is out, T. Higgins is out, all them dudes is out, and the era of Joe Burrow, as far as where we consider him in QB rankings, that'll probably be over with.
Well, are they? Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Just before we go off of this, are they going with the model of Kansas City? Will they go with the model of Kansas City? Let your wide receivers walk, and leave the offense in the hands of your Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah,
and work that out. Now, in my opinion, that only works when you build the defense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Well, the way that Kansas City has. But do you think that's the blueprint for them moving forward, is trying to get not depending on having a dynamic wide receiving core, just having a high-level functioning quarterback with some average pieces?
Now, I think that's the model in general on how to win. For me personally, if you have a spectacular quarterback, if you don't have a good quarterback, you go the opposite route. But if you have a good quarterback like a Joe Burrow, I wouldn't pay the receivers and I wouldn't pay the running back. I'm paying my O-line, I'm paying my D-line, and you got to draft skill positions well it like Kansas City did with Trent McDuffie, like they did with Brian Cook in the secondary, like they did with Chris Jones, like they did with George Karlaftis on the D line. You got to draft those guys well, and you got to build that O line. And you can always find a running back. You can find a running back in the 7th round. You can find receivers with how talented these dudes are, 1st or 2nd round. You can find you a receiver, but what you can't just find anywhere is O-line. You can't just find D-line anywhere. You got to pay those guys, and I think that is the model. The problem is the Bengals don't draft like Kansas City. The problem is nobody wants to come there because they're not paying their guys. They always want to get somebody on a discount. So, and then the third problem, and probably the biggest problem, is Joe Burrow's never healthy. So even if you do this model, it could all blow up, and you'll have Ryan Finley in there, whoever the dude was last year that was playing quarterback, in there playing for you while you have all these lack of pieces around you. So they're in a tough spot that's with the hand that they've been dealt. But I see them actually trending down going from here. So like I said, Cincinnati 0-3, got to find a way to beat the Panthers next week. And the Red Rifle, whatever we call them, and Andy Dalton over there in Carolina. But I want to touch on the other game that took place last night, the Bills versus the Jaguars. Can't say I pictured this one going like this, but am I shocked that it went this way? Not at all. I am shocked that the Bills put up 47 points. I mean, they really made it a point to try to blow them out. So the Bills go out there on Monday Night Football, first part of the doubleheader, and completely blow out the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Jaguars aren't world beaters, but the part that surprises me is this Buffalo offense. They get rid of Stephon Diggs. They say, cool, we're going to let him walk. They finally give James Cook the ball like they should have been doing. They get a young receiving core in there and put him around Josh Allen. A lot of kind of the process that we were just talking about, that Rocky just brought up, that Mahomes and Kansas City have been doing as far as how to build their team. We're seeing the Bills do that now. And the Bills are taking off. They're 3-0. They beat the Cardinals, Dolphins, and Jaguars. Those are all respectable teams in the NFL right now. They put up 34 in week 1, 31 in week 2, and last night they put up 47 on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, there's two parts to this. The Bills, like I said, they bet on Josh Allen. They get rid of these other guys and say, hey, we're going to bet on Josh Allen. Let's just see what he can do if we let him rock out. He's delivering, and he's delivering in a big way right now. Put up 47 points yesterday, 23 for 30, 263 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 98 QBR. And was their leading rusher, 6 carries for 44 yards. James Cook got a touchdown. Didn't have to go too crazy yesterday. Khalil Shakir, he's been stepping up. He has 6 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. The first-round pick at receiver, Keon Coleman, he got a touchdown yesterday. Dalton Kincaid, another young piece that they're building around at the tight end position, he got a touchdown. So Josh Allen is spreading the ball around, and I wasn't sure if this model was going to work. Them trying to follow the Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes type of model of, hey, we're going to bet on our quarterback and we're going to spend our money on our defense. And that's exactly what they've did, and so far it's paying off in a huge way for the Bills. On the other side of this, the Jacksonville Jaguars fall to 0-3. Trevor Lawrence, 21 for 38, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, sacked 4 times, 19 QBR. Travis Etienne, 68 yards, only had 11 carries in the game, and that's probably because they were trailing the whole game. They paid Christian Kirk. They paid Gabe Davis to come over from Buffalo and come into this organization. They drafted Brian Thomas with one of their top picks out of LSU at the receiver position. And somehow they're just not getting it done. You come out here and you score 10 points. Yeah, this Buffalo defense is good. But you score 17 against the Dolphins. Their defense is iffy. You lose to the Browns. You score 13 against the Browns. They've looked terrible against everybody except the Jaguars. You lose to the Bills and get completely blown out on national television for what will be essentially your last TV game, your last national televised game of the year. Your first and your only. They got a couple games at 8:30, but I don't count that at national television, those games overseas where they play like 8 in the morning. Ain't nobody watching that. But so that you play your last national televised game, you get blown out by the Bills. This is a team that was expected to make a run at the playoffs. They were expected to make a run at winning the AFC South. Yeah, I'm a Texans fan. Even I expected them to make a run at the AFC South. I thought they had some pretty decent pieces. Josh Allen, the DN, he's really good. They draft Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall a few years ago. That turned out to be dumb. Trayvon Walker is decent, but for some reason they picked him over Aiden Hutchinson. I don't know why. I don't think at any point he ever looked better than Aiden Hutchinson. But they picked him a couple years ago. They let guys walk in their secondary. They got a young secondary out there. I feel like they draft a middle linebacker every single year. That hasn't seemed to work. I don't know where this team is going. I thought they would have looked a lot better this year. But on the other side of that, like I said, Buffalo looks really good. Kyra, what do you think about the Bills beating up on the Jaguars yesterday on Monday Night Football like that?
Yeah, man. The Bills at home have always been, just a different team than the Bills that disappoint us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that I was noticing that game. Like, they were blasting on the Jaguars, but I was just looking at the stadium, man. Like, that's kind of they're kind of giving me Green Bay vibes of old, nowadays, like small town, not really a small town, but small town for the NFL.
Yeah. For
the NFL, and it just seems like everybody's really heavily invested into the team. Like it's the only thing going on out there, just like Green Bay.
Yep.
So I was just noticing that, man, and then I'm looking at the schedule so far, and I know they went down to Miami and won that game, but you know my thoughts about Tua, and I just don't. I'm still not sure what to make of these Bills. I know they're an elite team at home. Also, this Miami team that was down at halftime on the Jaguars, down by 17. I think nothing. They came back to win the game still, but I just don't know how good anybody in the league is right now. Like, I think these preseason games are hurting them, but the Bills look like the best team, if not the Chiefs, but the Bills honestly look the best.
Yeah.
If you just don't want to give the Chiefs credit for their pedigree. But just off this year alone, the Bills look like the best team. But I just don't know what to make of it right now because I'm seeing it looks like that home field advantage is really powerful there because I don't know, man. It's just everything's rolling for them. It seems like ever since that halftime against Arizona, everything's been rolling, working out. And run game, Josh Allen spreading the ball around. It just looks good. The Jaguars I just don't think are very good. 0-3, that's a reason. There's a reason behind 0-3. You can't get one, but same time, didn't expect much of the Jaguars either. The Bills are probably going to be the second best team in the league, even though I probably would have took the Ravens to beginning of the season. But they're looking like either the first or second best team in the entire league. But I think they're going to lose next week when they go on the road to Baltimore. But I just don't know what to make of any of these teams right now. But if I had to just objectively speak, the Bills, I would say the power rankings are going to go Bills, Chiefs, and then, throw whoever you want out there. Because I feel like there's a lot of pretenders that are 3-0 right now. And I'm not going to say the Bills are one of them, but I don't like the teams that have winning records really right now. So,
yeah.
Well, let me
go ahead, Rex.
I'll start this off and say this. Jacksonville Jaguars, the problem or situation that they find themselves in is a self-inflicted situation. You pay a max contract to a Midland quarterback. When you do that, you pay this guy $30, $40 million, right? Mm-hmm. And that prevents you from developing the rest of your team or fielding a competitive team. In my opinion, Trevor Lawrence is what's wrong with the NFL. You should not pay Midland quarterbacks. And we can go down the list when you talk about Midland quarterbacks. You're talking about the Kirk Cousins, the Trevor Lawrences. Even to the point to where, you know, the guys that have gotten paid in the past, you know, the Matt Ryans and those guys. You don't, if a guy is not a championship caliber quarterback, right, then you don't pay him a max deal. You have to just think about this. The Jacksonville, they say the worst position to be on in the NFL is to go to the stadium without a quarterback that gives you a chance to win. Have you guys heard that before?
Yep.
So why are you paying these middling quarterbacks? Because when you go with Trevor Lawrence against Josh Allen, do the Jaguars have a chance to win? When you go against Patrick Mahomes, do you have a chance to win with Trevor Lawrence?
Not a chance.
Absolutely not. So why do teams time and time again put themselves in that situation of paying a guy that doesn't give you a chance to win against the top guys? That's my problem with where the NFL is going now. I'm not saying don't pay the guys any money, but there's no reason that a guy like Trevor Lawrence should have reset the market. No reason. A guy like Kirk Cousins resets the market. I would because here's a good position to be in. Is to have a team that's fully filled out and functional, right? And then possibly get in position through either trade or drafting, draft position. Get you a guy like a Jaden Daniels.
Brock Purdy.
Or Brock.
That's how they built their team.
I think Brock Purdy is going to be in the situation where I think he has to prove that he's a championship level quarterback without all those other pieces around him.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Brock Purdy, and that's the other thing about Joe Burrow. Have you ever seen Joe Burrow be successful unless he's had 2 all-pro caliber wide receivers? He had 2 or 3 in college, and he's had at least 1 the entire time he's been in the NFL. Yep. So what would he look like without a Jamar Chase or a T. Higgins?
We'll figure out next year.
That can elevate the guys around him the way that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen does. The issue is there's not many top-level quarterbacks. When I was growing up, it was Terry Bradshaw, Staubach, Joe Montana. There wasn't a ton of guys out there, right? Then when you go, you go forward, and then there's guys like there's Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Brett Favre. Again, even what's my man that played for the Bills, Jim Kelly.
Yeah,
there's just not a lot of top guys out there. Then you move forward, and then you get into, at some point in the Brady era, they decided that you have to be a top-level quarterback. And if you are a top-level, if you're just the starting quarterback, the franchise quarterback, you deserve to get paid buku money.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. You pay the guys that are difference makers. You pay a guy like Lamar, who's a difference maker.
Yep.
You pay, in all honesty, you pay a guy like Deshaun Watson, the way he played.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Who's a difference maker. You pay Patrick Mahomes, who's a difference maker. You don't pay a guy who's not a difference maker. He's better off showing up for the other team on Sunday.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And you having a competent corner, a good linebacker, a good safety, a good defensive tackle, a good left tackle, 2 functioning guards. You understand? Your team is better off until you can find a quarterback. until you can find a quarterback. I believe the Trent Dilfer model works in today's NFL, but they don't want to go through the process of building a team the way the Baltimore Ravens built that team.
Yeah. No, I agree. And
you understand what I'm saying? They don't want to go through the process of building a team by drafting a linebacker and then a left tackle like Tony Baselli, then a free safety like Ed Reed, 2 top-notch corners. You understand? They don't want to go through that process. And then, you know, even the year Dilfer played, they had a guy that played for the Cowboys, a guy named Tony Banks, who also tried to play. One other guy, and before they settled on Dilfer, who you got to understand, Dilfer was a Midland quarterback that was essentially, his contract wasn't renewed by Tampa Bay.
Yep.
You know, when you understand, Tampa Bay had a team that came in and a rookie quarterback led them to one game from being in the Super Bowl. When you have a great team, you don't have to have an all-world quarterback. But paying these quarterbacks, these average quarterbacks, like they're all-world quarterbacks, is not going to make them play all-world.
Facts.
Jerry.
Uh-oh. Man, don't get nothing started.
I'm a that guy. Just because you pay Kirk Cousins like a top-notch quarterback isn't gonna make him top-notch.
Facts.
And so I'm sorry to get on this rant, but my point is,
you're good.
I wish the NFL went back to real team building, right? And then valuing players other than just the quarterback.
And I think.
Go ahead.
Jay.
No, what'd you say, Kyra?
It's a double-edged sword, though. You know, because if you want to stop paying guys, because when we think about Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, at the times they got paid, right, they were really paying for potential. So when we crash these guys and we're on these guys about, you know, like CD or Dak, why didn't y'all get them done earlier? Well, that can happen too. You can pay a guy early thinking that you're getting ahead of, you know, paying him the highest or, you know, just being strapped because you know the salary cap's going to keep going up. And then you get this thing where it doesn't pan out. So it's like, it's a two-edged sword.
But no, what I'm saying is you should never allow a guy like Tua to put you in that position. You should never allow a guy like Dak to put you in that position. You should never allow a guy like Kirk Cousins to put you in that position.
For sure. No, and I'm
let me ask you this: in an alternate universe where Kirk Cousins stays with the Washington Redskins and makes tons of money just with that one team, are they better off today, or are they better off with Kirk Cousins as a starting quarterback?
Well, because we know who Kirk Cousins is, that's a bad contract now.
We knew that then, though.
Right. I think Kirk is a special case, but when you talk about Trevor, Dak, you were paying for potential, and especially with Burrow as well. You're paying.
Dak ain't got no potential left, bro.
Not Dak, but the guys that reset the market.
No. What I'm saying is, you got to understand it's a domino effect, Terrell. And what I'm saying is, if you pay Trevor, okay, let's go back. If you play Kirk Cousins, then you certainly have to pay Deshaun Watson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then you certainly have to pay Dak the first time, right?
Yep.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying? It's just it's a slow build. And now you get to the guys like Tua, Kirk Cousins, the average guys. Someone has to have the cojones to say as a franchise and say, hey, let Tua go play for somebody else. I'll find somebody else to play with Tyreek and Waddle. And you understand what I'm saying? I believe that there's lots of guys. Let me tell you this. I believe you can put my man. What's my man that backs up? He's played for tons of teams.
Dobbs on the 49ers.
He's talking about James.
No, not Jameis. But Jameis would work too.
Dobbs.
My man that doesn't turn the ball over. He backed up Lamar. He backed up. He's from Virginia Tech.
Oh, Tyrod Taylor. Yeah.
You take.
Oh yeah.
You take Tyrod, put him on Miami Dolphins team. He's going to have a great year, and they're going to be a playoff team. Will they win the Super Bowl? No.
Yeah. Now I'm agreeing with you to your point, and I'll let you comment back on it, Kyrell. I'm on the same point as Rocky, and I've always said this, and that's why the 49ers have been in the modern era. No one has done it better than them. They've been good since 2018 because they followed this exact model that Rocky is talking about. And hey, we're not just going to pay you just because you're a quarterback, and we'll figure out will they stay true to that philosophy because Brock Purdy's about to come up for a contract. But I've always said this. He brought up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2002. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just did it in 2020. They had a team. They've been at a team, but they're like, hey, Jameis, you threw 30 touchdowns, but you threw 30 picks. We're not going to pay you $200 million just because you threw for 5,000 yards because we know you're average. So we're going to just take our chances. They took their chances, and hey, no one thought, man, Tom Brady's going to leave New England. People weren't just thinking or go to Tampa Bay. Nobody was thinking Tampa Bay, but they had a team already built, an entire team. What did they do? They got a Super Bowl out of it. Are they going to be good for the next 20 years? No, but they got a Super Bowl. Most teams are not going to be good for the next 20 years or win a Super Bowl. So they were able to do that. I think that model, if you don't have a guy, I think if you have a generational guy like Mahomes, you go with the other model I said where you go with the Brady/Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs model where you just pay him and you build the defense. But as far as the other side of it, I think you have to do exactly that. Just build your team. The 49ers have proved it. They went to a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. They went to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. And they've been in the NFC Championship almost every single year that they've been going in this with Kyle Shanahan because they have a great play caller and they have a good philosophy of we're going to make everybody else be cold. And if we get a decent guy in there, if Miami, like he just said, if Miami had Tyrod Taylor, Miami's a perfect example of why they won't win a championship because they paid an extremely average quarterback in Tua all of that money, and now they won't be able to go and get somebody else after that.
Yeah, or they're going to have to depend on getting a guy in the draft. They're going to have to end up finishing, in the top 10 so they can end up getting a guy in the draft. I don't think that philosophy necessarily works because here's the issue I see with that a lot of times. You end up with a Drake May. You end up with a Christian Ponder. You end up, you know what I mean? You end up with these guys who what's the guy that the Minnesota drafted that played for the international championship?
J.J. McCarthy.
You end up with a J.J. McCarthy. Now that story is yet to be written, right? Mm-hmm. But if you thought that, you take a guy like Sam Darnold, right?
Yeah.
Who's a functioning NFL quarterback, who's been on 2 other teams. You put him on a team that has a competent defense and lots of weapons. He looks like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. And I don't think that model is different than any. I think that model works. Here's what you have to understand. Not every guy is going to be able to elevate talent the way that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes does. There's only a few guys that can do that.
Yep.
There's not a lot of guys. Whether you pay Kirk Cousins or not, he's never going to be able to he's never going to be able to elevate the guys around him because he's a good guy, but he's still just a guy.
Yeah.
And if you pay him like a superstar or a franchise quarterback, that's not going to make him one. That's not going to make him play like one. He's not, just because you pay him as much as Mahomes is getting paid, doesn't mean he's going to play like Mahomes. Same thing with that. Again, when we were talking about it earlier this year, I said it makes no sense to sign CD if you're not going to sign Dak. Because at the end of the day, Dak needs a guy like CD. He's got to have a guy like CD.
Facts.
He needs 2 of them.
Well, I mean, at least one, at least, And so, but I don't think, but again, like I said before, I don't think that's different than 90% of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have one of those 10 percenters in order to win a Super Bowl. I just think in that era of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, the winning was so quarterback centric. You know what I mean? Winning was dependent on, those guys were doing the majority of the winning, right? So they built a model that, you had to have the guy in order to win. And I just don't think that's the case. You don't have to have the guy. You can have a guy and win.
Yeah.
But if you pay him like the guy, it prevents the team from winning. I'll let you guys get in here.
Yeah, and I think too, it's multiple factors in with that, and I'll let you get on there, Kyra, before we go to break. But one of the main points is what Tom Brady brought up in the interview he just had a few years ago. See, the reason it seemed so quarterback-centric in the 2000s, which was not long ago, I mean, it's just 20 years ago, is because those were guys. Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Donovan McNabb in his time, Brett Favre. I mean, there were guys, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger. And now, not saying that guys are just not as good as quarterback, but what Tom Brady said in the interview a few weeks ago, they've dumbed down the offense. They dumbed down the offense, so yeah, we're just going to make it to, it's these 8 routes, these 9 routes. And you just learn these, and we'll get it. And it's backfiring in a major way, and quarterback play is all the way down, and defenses are at a higher premium right now. Because if you got a pretty good defense, you're going to win games because quarterback play is so down right now because of them dumbing down the offense, and that's another reason why I wouldn't pay these guys. Kyrell, go ahead, and I'll let you close this part out and respond.
Yeah, man. That was right on the nose. Like, we're seeing it all over the league as far as, the quarterback's ability to pretty much operate an offense from the, I want to say shotgun, but really just from the pit, man, from on the field. They're looking up. They're really not deciphering too much. You see very little quarterbacks, and some shouldn't be doing it, but you see very little quarterbacks nowadays just running the show completely at the line of scrimmage. Dak is one of those dudes that does that. But should he? I don't know, but he does it. Yeah. When you think about, I hate to keep bringing up Jalen Hurts, but that's just the most recent example I've seen of it, man. Like, these guys, if it's happening to Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl appearance quarterback, it's happening to these other young quarterbacks as well. How much responsibility is on them. And I don't know about y'all, man, but today it seems like, it seems like the premium is having a good running back and a good defense.
Yeah.
And you guys, I agree with you guys wholeheartedly about this is probably the best way to build your team. Me personally, I think there's just a lot more good backups nowadays. There's a lot of high draft picks that ended up on terrible teams, that had time to bounce around a little bit and are now backups in the league. Look at Jameis and Sam Darnold. These guys were once, top 5 picks. So It's not like these backups anymore are the Matt Flynn's and, the people that were just kind of thrown around, like
Ryan Leaf.
Ryan Leaf, shout out Matt Flynn because, he balled for a couple games. But it's not, those guys are gone. What's that kid's name? Not Josh Freeman, but the other guy. It doesn't matter. But, the backups are better is what I'm noticing nowadays. And now that we look at the league, it's like, just to think about the contract situation again, Kirk Cousins, right? You want to avoid paying these guys, but I think Kirk, like, let's remember how he's made just as much money as Tom Brady in his career. It's not that contract. It was those 3 years of franchise tags, 2 or 3 years of franchise tags. And I think teams might have been scared of getting in that hostage situation that he was in with the Redskins, and where they're paying him the top money every year because he won't sign a new contract, and just getting ahead and getting these guys some money. Now, is it the best way to happen? I don't know. But I think these teams are just scared of just being on the opposite end.
They're scared of being the Cleveland Browns. That's what they're scared of. Yeah. I'll let you go ahead, Rocky. But they're scared of – the Cleveland Browns ruined it for everybody with 30 years of just horrendous quarterback play. But go ahead.
Well, I think the situation in the NFL is secular, right? So let me kind of explain. There's always – and even back when there were 28 teams when I was a kid, there's only been really 5 to 7 elite quarterbacks at any one time in the NFL. 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have another group of 10 guys who are what I would call average to journeyman quarterbacks, and then there are another 10 guys learning on the job, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we have. Some of those guys who learning on the job develop into journeyman quarterbacks. A few of those guys develop into elite quarterbacks. The problem now is what I see is with the technology that the coaches have at their disposal, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than letting the quarterbacks play, they want the quarterback to be somewhat of a robot or an extension of their mind or how they want the game played.
Yeah.
And most specifically, I point out Brock Purdy. While people look at him as a good quarterback, I don't, right? Mm-hmm. I think he plays exactly the way that Kyle Shanahan wants him to play. If at any point Kyle Shanahan's game plan breaks down, Brock Purdy is useless as a quarterback.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I would much rather have a guy like Lamar or a guy like Patrick Mahomes that regardless of what the game plan is, they can adapt to what the game is and come out with a victory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's how the game used to be played. The players used to decide the game. Now the coaches with the technology, the being able to, call the play in the headset, help the quarterback read the defense, so on and so forth. They prefer a more robotic method of the quarterback playing. You even hear coaches say now, I need them to just run my stuff. I want them to run my system. Just stay within the system. Whereas, and I think that's why calling pass plays is always so enticing for a guy who wants control, because the passing game, right, is more structured, right? Whereas a running back is almost like an artist on the field. The hole might not be front side. It could be backside. He may have to bounce it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can control more with the game, with the passing game, a la Bill Walsh. But we all know, watching this, I've been watching this game, 50 years now. There's nothing that quite controls the pace of a game like the running game.
And that's why the running back should come back.
If you build your team around the running game and a competent quarterback, you'll have a chance to win. Will you win a championship every year? No, no team will win a championship every year, right? But depending on some magical quarterback or signal caller to make you a winning championship franchise, I've seen a number of times where that hadn't worked either. So why can't you build your team around a running back, a strong running back, strong defense? And if that doesn't win a championship, accept those circumstances. Why are you forced into this economic shit show that you end up in?
Yeah.
Where you have to pay a guy absorbent amounts of money. Excuse me for cursing on
No,
the
you're
radio. Absorbing amounts of money when there are other guys on the team who probably deserve to be properly compensated. And I'll say this. It's a shame that Saquon Barkley makes only $13,000 a year, $13 million a year.
Crazy.
Considering what you think the Eagles would be right now without Saquon?
0-3. I think that's a simple answer. They'd be 0-3.
What is Daniel Jones without Saquon? What did he look like the first two games without Saquon?
Yeah, terrible.
You understand? Again, those are
785-9130.
You have to look at. But for whatever reason, the economics in the NFL, they want to reward the quarterback, and they want to, be very stingy with seeming like every other position.
Yeah, and I'll come back to it. We got to get to a break in here, but I'm agreeing with y'all, man. This QB play, and it's a problem. It's become a problem with not only the play in the league, but how much you have to pay these quarterbacks. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. I want to thank everybody for watching with us. We're going to come back top of the hour. Still plenty to talk about here on Centex Primetime. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis. Act like y'all. Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
The East Waco Empowerment Project, along with City Center Waco, is hosting WeBo, Workshop and Business Opportunity, to help create more entrepreneurs. Business owners like Aniceto Charles of True Jamaica Restaurant and Carla Dotson of Boardwalk on Elm attended WeBo to develop their business ideas into successful Black-owned businesses right in the heart of East Waco. WeBo can also help you turn your side hustle or business idea into the next thriving Black-owned business in our community. If you would like to attend this 10-week intense entrepreneurial workshop, go to WeBoWaco.org. That's WIBO Waco.org. Space.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler for me. It's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's a sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need Southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie, 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis.
We can talk about sports.
Listen,
It's that time.
This is live from the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports Studios.
We live.
Stay ready to voice your thoughts by calling 1-800-215-0598.
This is what
Right here on Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Hello and welcome back into Centex Primetime here, hour number 2, where on Centex Primetime we talk about the primetime topics in sports, not only in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation in sports. Once again, thanks everybody for watching with us. If you're just now joining, I know a lot of you guys just now getting off of work, driving in your cars. You want to be able to listen to this 5 to 7 weekdays. Go to CentexSports1.com or download the app Centex Sports 1 on the Google Play Store or on the Apple Store as well. Also, you can jump over to Centex Sports Network on YouTube if you want to watch this content. If you've got YouTube Premium, then you can listen to it. You can close your phone out and listen to it. But I know a lot of y'all still got the ads on there. You can go over to YouTube, Centex Sports TV, Centex Sports Network, and you can watch this weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Jalen Gillis, as we dive through a lot of these topics, talking about some football games from last night. Got a chance to talk about the quarterback play and the lack thereof in the NFL. I'm here joined with Rocky Miller on with me today as well. Kyrie had to jump off of here. I want to say thanks to him for coming on and chopping it up with us in hour number 1. Still got some more things to talk about here in hour number 2, folks, as we wrapped up Week 3 in the NFL, and we still got questions. We've got a lot of questions. Who are the best teams in the league? What should teams like the Bengals do to turn around their season? Are the Bills for real after they go 3-0? Is Pittsburgh for real after they go 3-0? Are teams like Philly going to bounce back? Detroit, teams we thought that was at the back. I mean, we're going to be at the front of the conference. Are other 3-0 teams like Seattle and Minnesota the real deal? But one team I do want to talk about while we have Rocky on here, a team that is near and dear to a lot of you guys' hearts, man. Flagship team here on 94.5 FM on Sundays for those of you that want to be able to watch or listen to your Dallas Cowboys right here on 94.5 FM. You can catch them on Sundays if you guys want to listen to the game. You're driving in your cars and don't want to have a wreck while trying to watch at the same time after watching some of the stuff that's been taking place. But through 3 weeks, the Dallas Cowboys are 1-2 on the season. They drop another game against the Baltimore Ravens in similar fashion to how they lost to the New Orleans Saints, but this time it was a little bit worse as far as the run. The score wasn't worse at all. Even the play wasn't worse, but the fact of not being able to stop the run was even worse. They gave up 274 yards after giving up 190 yards the week before. So, Rocky, I got to ask, one, what did you think about the game? And then two, how do you fix this? How does this Dallas team fix this year? Is there any changes they can make in order to stop what's been happening this last couple of weeks?
Well, yeah, I think there's some things they can do to fix it. I've seen teams struggle with the run early in the season and make schematic adjustments, and they're able to be more formidable against the run. The game this weekend, as you well know, I sent you over my picks.
Yep.
You know I fully expect the Cowboys to lose.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if the Saints run for almost 200 yards on you, I'm not going to be surprised with Derek Carr quarterback. What do you think Lamar Jackson is going to do with Derrick Henry? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was simple math to me. I mean, it was simple. You know.
Yeah.
You go into a game with a team that has their whole game plan, their whole organization, their whole program is built about running the ball. And it's not surprising me they almost ran for 300. So I don't think every team will come in with that same program. Mm-hmm. Every team will have the ability to run for that much. You know, I think they have a great matchup this week to kind of get themselves to feeling better, work on some of their schemes. And, I think they have to lick their wounds and come out on Thursday night and play a great game against the Giants. I believe certainly they can do it. And if you just turn the page on this game, this is a game where you went into the game understanding that you were outmatched.
Yeah.
And you accept the fact that you are outmatched and you go back to the drawing board and try to get better. The Cowboys are built in a particular kind of way, right? The Cowboys are built to play with the lead, right? Mm-hmm. To get a team down by about 10 points and then let their defense kind of rough up the quarterback. And, we're decent on the back end. And so there are going to be some tight throws, and some quarterbacks are going to be able to make it, some quarterbacks not. We're going to be able to get some picks, so on and so forth. But if that doesn't happen, right, mm-hmm. and the game is turned into a physical ball game where another team can dictate down and distance against us, we're just not built that way. We're just not built that way to stop the run on three consecutive downs. We're not that kind of team.
Yeah,
defensively, and offensively, Dak is good at the dink and dunk game, right?
Yeah,
but we have to get big plays or chunk plays in order to score. We don't. To be honest with you, up to this point, we don't play clean enough to drive the ball 7 and 8, 9 plays a game a drive. We don't play clean enough. We're going to have holding calls. We're going to have jumping off sides. We're going to have guys miss assignments. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we have to get those chunk plays. And to be frank with you, Dak has to be an elite quarterback in the red zone. And let me take that back. An elite decision maker in the red zone. And so, but again, I think if you look at the league and you look at in the teams that I look at specifically are the Giants, the Eagles, and the Commanders. We're right in there with none of those teams are considerably better than we are, and we're competitive with all of those teams. And so I think we still got a chance to, A, make the playoffs, and B, potentially win the division, to be honest with you.
Yeah, y'all are right there in the mix. Like you said, nobody looks like world beaters in the NFC East. All you got to do is win your division in order to get to the playoffs. The Philadelphia Eagles have plenty of question marks around them, just as many, if not more, as the Cowboys. The Commanders, yeah, they're 2-1, but they beat up on the Bengals, who haven't won a game, and they beat up on the Giants, who y'all are probably going to thrash on Thursday. So, and then there's the Giants left, and yeah, they're the Giants. So I don't, like you said, there's still a very winnable division, and I'm not sure if there's many changes you can make this year as far as how to stop that. But like you said, every team's not going to have Derrick Henry. Every team's not going to have Alvin Kamara. So this isn't going to happen to the Cowboys every single week. So I will say to Cowboys fans, you can take a breather. That's not going to happen every single week, and there is still some hope. Now going forward, that's what I want to ask about. Going forward, Dak has just got a new contract. He's not getting any better than what he is. Not saying he's just going to be terrible, but he's not going to be better than what he is right now. CD got a contract. You still got to pay Micah. They paid Diggs. Deron Bland's going to want to get paid. Do they let go of DeMarcus Lawrence? Zach Martin is clearly regressing. They got some young guys on the line like Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton, but Guyton is still a question mark at this point, especially after seeing him getting dominated by David Ajobu, who's not like a top guy in the league or something yesterday or on Sunday, the way that he was dominated. On the defensive side, where do you allocate funds? Yeah, you're gonna have to pay Micah. You already paid Diggs. Where do you allocate the rest of your funds moving forward? Pretty much, I'm asking, what is the future and what moves do the Cowboys need to make in order for them to come out of this better than what they've been this year and the last couple of years, honestly?
Well, first off, the Cowboys have to understand, one, I'll start on defense. We have to be able to play a more physical brand of football in the trenches. Otherwise, our great pass rushers, DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, don't ever get to do what they need to do. I think they missed on my man, I can't think his name,
Mozzie Smith, yeah.
Yeah, I think they missed on him, right? So when you miss, you got to take another bite at the apple.
Yeah.
Next time. Now, the running back situation needs to be dealt with, right? We have to understand that if we want Dak to be the kind of quarterback that I believe he can be, you're going to have a running game to complement him. He's not a 50-pass-a-game guy. Knowing that, you're going to have to get a running game to complement him, right? I don't think that's unreasonable.
No.
And we have to, and I think, again, at where we are is we have a competent offensive line. If we can find a special guy in the draft, or special guys for that matter.
Yeah.
if because I'm not against running back by committee guys, then we can start being the team that I believe we can be. But as it stands now, Dallas, my man is not Dak is not a guy that's going to win you a shootout against the top quarterbacks in the league. Right?
Yeah.
So what we need to do, he's not Brock Purdy. I think he's better than Brock Purdy. I think he's better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
I think he's better than all those guys. But he has to win. He has to be able to play the game where he has a competent, on most Sundays, he has a competent running game, or at least we are a threat to run, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a defense that can always keep the game no more than 2 scores away.
Yeah, because with both of those together, that's tough. That's a tough hole to try to climb out of with the defense giving up that many points. And, I've said plenty of issues I've had with Dak in the past on the show. But, I mean, the running game is so – who can you – after 3 weeks of football, who can you expect to win with this running game the way that it's been going? They don't even attempt to address it in the draft, which kind of is, surprising to me. The pick with Deuce Vaughn, that's cool. And I feel like Deuce Vaughn can be decent at football. But running him through the A gap and running him through the B gap, knowing he's 5'5", I don't understand what the point is.
I love the Deuce Vaughn story.
Yeah, he said story.
I love the Deuce Vaughn story. But your daddy being part of the organization shouldn't warrant you a place on the team.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Deuce Vaughn is what, maybe 170, 180?
Yeah, maybe 170.
And Derrick Henry is 250?
Yeah.
And that's the way the yardage looked too.
Yeah. That is facts.
Again, I know Jerry probably he believes he couldn't afford Derrick Henry.
He could have.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah, he could have.
He could. He just thought he could do it without a guy like Derrick Henry. We need a bell cow running back. Now, I could understand he said, hey, there's too much tread on those tires. I'd rather have another guy, whatever. I could be honest about that part of it. It ain't that you couldn't afford him, like a lot of other teams, right?
Yeah.
They thought that Derrick Henry was washed.
No, that's true.
He should be washed.
Yeah, I mean, in the first couple of weeks, he kind of looked like it a little bit until he got into this game.
If he was human, he'd be washed.
Yeah, he ain't. He ain't that.
Yeah, he's something else. He's something different.
And the problem with that, and I'll let you keep going, the problem with that is when you said Jerry Jones thinks, it should have stopped there. That is a problem, and that is a problem that the Cowboys continue to have. Jerry Jones shouldn't be thinking about any football decisions besides what color are the tickets going to be and what color are we going to tell the fans to wear on whiteout night, or should we tell them to wear dark blue that night? No football decision should be being made by Jerry Jones, and that is the issue. That's one of the main issues. That's why they're probably not going to get Bill Belichick after they fire McCarthy. They're going to hire somebody else random. He has got to stop, and I know he's probably not going to. He's super rich and he's 70-something. So you're not going to be able to tell him anything. But him making any football decisions is a major, major problem for the Cowboys, and it's showing up. Unfortunately, it's rearing its ugly head right here.
He's been making football decisions for 30 years, man.
Yeah.
I don't suspect
it's not going to
stop anytime soon. And to be honest with you, as the owner, that's your privilege. I've never had an issue with Jerry Jones making decisions. To be honest with you, I never have. I've always thought that that's his prerogative as an owner, and he should be able to make those decisions the way he sees fit,
Yeah.
The only issue I have is sometimes a lot of the decisions that he makes comes out, they're not rooted in anything that's about winning. They're more about flash and splash and not so much about winning. I believe going back to Derrick Henry, I understand why a guy wouldn't want to spend, that kind of money on a running back if that's your deal. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to spend it on somebody. And you have to understand that you need a running back. That Dak needs a running back. I love Zeke. Zeke was a tremendous player for the Cowboys. And he did a lot of great things when he was when he was as a Cowboy. He did a lot of great things, man. But at this point,
it's over.
He's not the answer.
It's over, man. And Derrick Henry, like you said, they could pay him. He signed a 2-year deal for $16 million. You mean to tell me you couldn't get that? I mean, Zeke got $3 million, and it can go up to $3.5 million, I think. If you can give Zeke $3.5 million, you can't give Derrick Henry $8 million. Like, come on, man. Like you said, he moves off of emotion and he wants to splash, and it seems to keep coming back and getting the Cowboys whenever they don't need it. So Dallas, like you said, they've got a chance to bounce back in a game, much needed bounce back game after that's perfect scheduling, honestly. After you had the way that these last 2 games go, you get the New York Giants on a Thursday. I think that's the best. I don't know why Daniel Jones, I feel like he's always playing on a Thursday. Maybe that's just me or with the games that I watch at least. He's always getting these Thursday night games, and he's always absolutely horrible. So we'll see how that, and I expect it to be the same on Thursday as well. So they get a perfect bounce back type of game on Thursday against Dallas. I expect Dallas to take care of business on that. And like I said, you can listen to that on right here on 94.5 FM if you guys are driving in your cars, getting off of work, and you don't want to swerve off the highway trying to watch. You can just listen, turn over to 94.5 FM, and you can listen to that game. Folks, we got some more topics to talk about here. I want to get into a couple quick takes before we talk about some college football. I seen a stat with Trevor Lawrence, and we just talked about him in hour number 1 for everybody that was listening with us. And if you weren't, we were just talking about Trevor Lawrence and how he's underperformed and still was a market setter in the NFL as far as his contract. Now, Trevor Lawrence, these are the stats between him and Daniel Jones. The stats are very similar. And Daniel Jones has played maybe 9 more games. Not even that. He's played 6 more games than Trevor Lawrence has played, even though he's got drafted a couple years before him. So they played essentially the same amount of games. Trevor Lawrence, 12,000 yards in his career. Daniel Jones, 13,000 yards in his career. Trevor Lawrence, 60 touchdowns in his career. Daniel Jones, 66 touchdowns in his career. Trevor Lawrence, 40 interceptions. Daniel Jones, 42 interceptions. These are the same stats. And in some of the areas, Daniel Jones' stats are better. And they played essentially the same amount of games. We destroyed Daniel Jones, not just myself, but talking points and talking heads around the NFL are always talking about how bad Daniel Jones is or has been in the past. And we look at Trevor Lawrence and we continuously put him in that top 10 or, man, when he gets it right and this. And respect, and definitely his first year, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. His first year, just a horrible environment for football playing. Well, when Urban Meyer was there his rookie year, that was terrible. Anybody would be bad in that. But since then, consistent underperformances outside of his comeback win against Justin Herbert, who's also underperformed in his career, and a 27-point comeback in the playoffs. Outside of that shining moment, Trevor Lawrence hasn't done anything since he's gotten beat down by LSU in the national championship. Trevor Lawrence was a generational guy. I didn't see them talk about any quarterback like this since Andrew Luck, honestly, as far as a QB prospect. He checked every box. He was going to be they said he could have been the number 1 pick after his freshman year of college at 18 years old. So highly touted, but the stats don't lie. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't. And the stats show right here that, like you just said, Rocky, these two are essentially the same guy. Now, I obviously think Trevor Lawrence is better than Daniel Jones, but you can't argue with production. And after the way that they've started 0-3 so far this year and not really losing to any world beaters outside of the Bills, who seem to be that right now, but I don't believe that the Bills are that. And they're getting blown out. You get blown out on national television. Like I said, your only national televised game of the year. You lose to the Browns. The Browns have only looked good in 1 game, and that was against you. And they ain't even look good. They won 18-13. And then you lost to the Dolphins after you were up 17-0 at halftime, and the Dolphins come back and win on a last-second field goal. So I don't know what to think about the Jaguars, but I'm going back to your point in hour number one, man, you got to stop paying these guys. Now, I understand them paying Trevor Lawrence. I don't understand the amount of money they paid him. Maybe I would have gave him a shorter deal, maybe 3 years on that type of money, just because you still want to see where his potential can go. And he's not a terrible quarterback. But when you pay these guys, you handicap them. Then you spend the rest of your money paying weapons to be there, like a Gabe Davis and like a Christian Kirk. And you draft with your first pick a wide receiver in Brian Thomas, and you still don't get the production. It just looks bad. Rocky, what do you think about this stat with Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence?
It's easy for me to understand. Like I say, I think Trevor Lawrence. Here's the deal. I think Trevor Lawrence is more talented than Daniel Jones.
For sure.
I think he has a stronger arm. I think he even has a better feel for the game of football than Daniel Jones. Right? However, everybody's waiting on Trevor Lawrence to pop. You know, these guys who prognosticate and predict how, the success of players all bet on Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? They all had Trevor Lawrence as the term they use, I'll use their terms, a generational talent. All right? They see him, and so they're invested on him. They're invested. You got to remember, the two-time MVP, these same scouts, high-level elite scouts, suggested that Lamar change positions.
It's crazy.
So when we talk about these kind of things, these guys want to seem a lot like experts. And what I hate to see is they always want to make us laymen, which I consider myself a layman. I'm not an expert of any kind.
Same.
I've not spent 40 years evaluating players or anything like that. But my eyes are online to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think my 7-year-old granddaughter can look and see who's fast and who's not.
Yeah.
Who's quick and who's not. Who has a rocket for an arm and who doesn't. Whose athletic ability translates into the game. And either you can do it or you can't. My personal opinion with both Trevor Lawrence and specifically Daniel Jones, they are guys much like a Trent Dilfer. You can't put the game on their back. They're not built like that. They're great guys. They're great players. They're great talents. They have all the physical ability, but they can't play the game the way that they don't have the instinctiveness of a Patrick Mahomes. They don't have the command of a Tom Brady. So you can't put the game on their back the way the teams want to put the game on their back. And when the game situation is forced on their back, or when the game plan puts it on their back, they get exposed as quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The game situation is if Daniel Jones has a lead and you have a functioning running game like they did this past weekend, he can be a pretty good quarterback. And I say good, pretty good quarterback. But if he gets behind, or if you come in with a game plan that features him as a passer, you're setting him up for failure. You're not doing him any favors. That's just my novice opinion. That's my novice opinion. It's not anything, again. But I do know my eyes aren't lying. That's what I do know. I do know those stats are online.
Facts.
The fact of the matter is Daniel Jones has had some success as a quarterback, but he hasn't had any success without Saquon Barkley.
None whatsoever. And he's holding up the Eagles by a shoestring right now in the little bit of success that they've had, because they would have lost that game on Sunday against New Orleans, who didn't look to be, I guess, what we thought maybe after the first couple of weeks. But Saquon is holding them up by a shoestring. And honestly, the best thing that ever happened to Saquon was him getting out of that New York organization. So I'm happy that he got somewhere where he can showcase his talent. But to see this stat with Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones is honestly alarming, and it just further proves your point of, man, you cannot pay these guys record-setting numbers. Go ahead.
So let me ask you this. So you're looking at those stats. When people put up those stats, when they compare, you've seen the stat comparison, the blind resume.
Yeah.
When you compare Dak to Mahomes, what do you think about those blind resumes?
Yeah. I mean, that further proves, one, Mahomes in his last couple years, he hasn't been a world beater in the regular season. And that's why I didn't pick them to do anything last year. But he proved that when he goes to the playoffs, he turns into another type of animal. That and so does this Chiefs team. And it's not just on him. And it further proves to people like you and Kyrell who defend Dak that winning is not a quarterback stat. They didn't win all those games because Mahomes threw for 400 yards. They won a lot of those games because Chris Jones had 8 pressures and 2 sacks. And L'Jarius Sneed was able to play a lockdown defense, and Trent McDuffie was able to be an all-pro corner out there. And Nick Bolton was able to go get 10 to 15 tackles. So a lot of those games were won, especially in these later years. Now, them first few years, Mahomes was just sensational. Not saying he wasn't last year, but he wasn't just throwing for 400-something yards every game. He wasn't throwing 50 touchdowns like he did his first year in the league. So
I would say he had a transcendent weapon.
Yes.
Weapons.
Yes.
With Travis Kelce.
Tyreek Hill.
And Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
That's what allowed him to put up those wild numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But I don't think you have to put up those wild numbers.
No.
To be successful.
He's proven it.
I don't think it. Because again, if you have a competent defense, solid running game, you know, you're going to be in most games. You're going to be in most NFL games. The problem a lot of times is that the team and the NFL entertainment product is based on the quarterback being the star.
Yeah. That's just facts. That's just facts.
You know, that's what it is. It's based on the quarterback being the star. And if the quarterback isn't the star, then what?
Then we see.
Then what do you have? Let me be honest. They want. So let me ask you this, because this is just a question I have.
Yeah.
Is it better for the league to have a star on a team rather than a team be kind of like starless? You know what I mean? I'm talking about from a entertainment product standpoint.
I think
is it better for the team, you know, regardless of how the team is performing on the field? Is it better if the team has a star that you can blame the outcome on?
Yeah.
Or discuss his play, or to have, you know, a situation like, you know, or just be in a situation where you have a team that doesn't have enough, and they don't have a quarterback that's even marketed to elevate their team.
I think it's better for the league to have that face, because that's what's going to help sell jerseys globally. Globally, people know who Patrick Mahomes is, even if they've watched only 8 minutes of Kansas City Chiefs game. Organizationally, I think if you have success even without that face of a franchise, that could be better for you organizationally, like the 49ers. Who's been the 49ers' top-selling jersey guy? I think I just seen Brock Purdy was in the top 5 of jersey sales. I don't think anybody thinks Brock Purdy's the top 5 anything. So to see, I think organizationally, you can have the same success even without having that same face as far as packing out your stadium, selling tickets. And they want it to be about their organization more than the face. And NFL teams have proven that over the years. They want it to be about, we're going to sell a number 80 jersey, a number 88 jersey, and rather it's Dez Bryant in it, or it's Michael Irvin in it, or if it's CD in it, we're going to sell a jersey with 88 on the back, as opposed to, man, I was just a fan of this guy, and that was the reason why. We've been selling jerseys, and that's the reason why I've been watching the games, and that's the reason why I'm a fan of this team. The NFL is not like the NBA. The NBA will promote a player in order to promote the organization. The NFL wants to promote the team. They want to promote the jersey.
I'll disagree with you in this regard.
Okay.
The only player that the NFL wants to openly promote is the quarterback.
Yeah, and that's true. That is true.
They may not want to, they may not want to promote, they want the quarterback by default.
Yeah.
To be the face of the franchise, and that's and I think that's by design.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's like that at every level. I think in high school, the quarterback is going to get perks, even though Lil Ray, as you would say, is running for 300 yards every weekend. The quarterback of the team is the popular guy per se.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the quarterback has a, and I didn't always believe this, but definitely in today's football, quarterback has a greater responsibility for winning than most any other player on the field.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Touch the ball every play.
Yeah, but again, teams win games.
For sure.
I don't ever want that to be misunderstood. Teams win games, and there's no mix-up about that as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. It's a team game, man, and we're seeing it. If we haven't seen it anymore, we're seeing it this year in the NFL. It is a team game. It doesn't matter who you stick out there at quarterback, because we're looking at this group of top quarterbacks, and outside of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, most of them have losing records. Lamar's got a losing record right now. Dak has a losing record right now. Like, we're looking at these top guys, and it's a team game. The team is what is going to be the determining factor, and I want to use that to segue into our next point as we get a little bit off of the NFL while we have a few minutes left, and talk about a little bit of college football before we get out of here.
Okay.
Game of the weekend, Baylor versus Colorado. Whichever side you were cheering for in the game. I root for Colorado as long as Deion is there, and I like Shador, and I think Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. But I'm a Baylor fan. I've been rooting for Baylor since the Robert Griffin era. Because before that, I didn't. If you're from Waco, before that, you didn't even hardly notice they had a team. Honestly, just because of what was going on. But I've been a fan of Baylor. They go out there, man. They have this game under control. I think they're going to win it. I thought they were going to win it before the game started because I thought the D-line was going to dominate like they did. What I didn't know was that Shador was going to do what he did and Travis Hunter was going to do what he did. I knew Shador would be great. I didn't know Shador was that strong. To see him be able to break out of, I think Baylor had 8 sacks. They could have had at least minimum 15 sacks. That's minimum. And that's crazy to even say, to think that a team could have 15 sacks in a game. But they could have easily had 15 sacks in the game. The way that he was able to get hit repeatedly, and that's why I've been calling him the best quarterback in college football, even though other people feel like it's been some others. This is why I've been calling him the best quarterback in college football. To sit there and get hit in the face repeatedly, over and over and over and over, and to still come out and make plays over and over, all the way down to the last 2 plays of regulation that should have been touchdowns. 2 plays in a row. He throws it to Will Sheppard. Will Sheppard drops it. He makes an even tougher throw, gets it to LaJohntay Wester, and the Colorado Buffaloes end up winning in overtime, 38-31. Travis Hunter gets the game-winning play as he pops the ball out on a fumble. I wanted to ask, man, what did you think about Colorado getting this win? And then what did you think about Shador's performance and what he proved, if he proved something in this game?
I thought the game was sensational.
Yeah.
I thought Baylor represented themselves well. I thought Colorado represented themselves well. I just, like I say, all in all, man, I just thought it was a sensational game, and it was, the fans who won, overall, man.
Yeah,
just being able to watch the game. It definitely didn't go the way I thought it would go, because I thought, to be honest with you, that Colorado would be way more successful moving the football than they were. And it turns out Baylor has a pretty good defensive line. They were able to put way more heat on Shedeur than I thought they would. But in watching the game, man, I just thought it was, it was a great college football game. I've seen some great college games in my lifetime, and that's among the, among the most exciting games I've ever seen, going all the way back to Doug Flutie.
Yeah.
And and a pass against Miami.
Yeah.
It seemed like every time, and there was a point in the first half that I thought Colorado had kind of turned the corner. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden the protection breaks down.
Yeah.
And they're not able to block anybody, man. And so, but Shedeur is he's one of those, and this is just my opinion, I just don't think there's another guy that's quite, the only other guy, and you might not agree, that he's always reminded me of this guy, but his game was always a little different, but there's just the sheer grittiness in which he plays. He always has reminded me of Steve McNair.
Great comparison.
He's always the way he throws the ball, right? Not pretty, not but just efficient. The ball goes where he wants it to go. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't look picture perfect. The ball goes where he wants it to go, and he can get it out of his hand quick, or he can have an elongated release.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he knows the proper application for every situation as far as passing the football.
For sure.
He's such an instinctive player, man. And that's the thing that I think that people underestimate at times, is that how much instincts and your just innate ability to play the game with people, with chaos going on around you, and being able to focus in and do what you're supposed to do as a player, man. It's just his ability to do that is uncanny.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Now and his belief and his willingness to use that belief that he has to propel his teammates is inspiring, in my opinion.
For sure.
It's definitely inspiring. So, I'm a big Shedeur fan, man. I for a long time I haven't really known what he was as a quarterback. I know that he can make it look really easy at times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He can make it look really easy. And then when it gets difficult, he always has just one more gear. He's never running off from anybody, but he's just got one more gear. He's just one more step better than you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of, you can be wowed by a guy like Jaden Daniels, wowed by a guy like Lamar Jackson, or even Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. For me, Shedeur never wows you like that. He just does just enough in every situation to make the play. And so I've always questioned, what am I really watching? Yeah. Is he ever going to get overwhelmed in a situation? And up to this point, he's been in some really tough spots as a quarterback, and he's always played with the same level of confidence and same belief. And for that, he's one hell of a player, in my opinion. If you're just going to measure him on heart and grit, he's one heck of a player.
And I agree, man. I mean, to see the situations that he's been put in, and a lot of people want to say, oh, well, he doesn't do this like this guy. He doesn't. Nobody else is getting hit this many times. And to talk about the grit that you had just said, man, he had 19 carries in this game. no design runs, and he's not a runner with the football. That's all just running away from getting his head knocked off his block and still coming back the next play and making a play, or at least attempting to make a play, putting his guys in position to make a play. So to see him do that, man, he's got to move up on people's list as far as what they thought of Shedeur. He doesn't move up to me because I already had him at 1 as far as QBs that are going to be coming out this year. I already have him at the 1 spot in college football. Go ahead.
My question is, if he's not your number 1 quarterback coming out, who is?
You don't want to ask that. They said a lot.
That's what I want to know.
I've heard Quinn Ewers a lot. We've had that argument on this show multiple times.
You can put Quentin Ewers, and this is what I'll say about Quentin Ewers. You put Quentin Ewers on Colorado.
Thank you.
You put Shedeur on Texas.
Thank you.
Who does better?
Come on, man. Quinn not winning a game.
What I'm saying is, Quentin Ewers is one of those guys that anytime the game gets kind of tough, he usually gets banged up.
Yeah.
I'm just –
it's facts.
That's not to speak about his individual toughness. I'm just saying that's what's kind of transpired. I'm looking at this stat line, man. This is a crazy stat line. 25 for 41 in a game where you got sacked 8 times.
Yep.
25 for 41, and it looks like he threw for 341 yards, right? And this is the one thing that's kind of crazy. Whatever quarterback he plays against doesn't have to work nearly as hard as he works.
No, not even close. Not even close. And that's my problem with the way that the people put a Quinn Ewers above him, or they put and now they're even doing his homeboy and Cam Ward, and Cam Ward has played great through the first couple weeks of the season. But they act like these guys just came out. Quinn Ewers been in college football, been starting. Cam Ward been starting. All of a sudden, these guys are better than him now. Carson Beck, I don't even want to entertain that one.
So this is what I'll say about Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is as talented as Shedeur.
Yeah, for sure.
He's talented, but again, he's not as tall as Shedeur. He's not as big as Shedeur. And he hadn't faced, in my opinion, the kind of just sheer stress in the pocket that Shedeur has faced.
Not even close.
I'll say this. Shedeur may end up in the pros playing against bigger guys, but I doubt that he'll face any more pressure than he's already faced as far as just in the pocket. Normally, a guy that has faced as much pressure that Shedeur has faced, they've thrown in the towel, man.
Yeah. And he gets back up week in and week out and goes out to make plays. Now, before we go out of here because we're running out of time, I want to talk about his teammate at Travis. They've got him, I think, right now, 3rd in the Heisman voting. Can you yourself think of anybody in college football that is better than Travis Hunter? Yesterday I said this on here. I have no idea how he's not number 1. I think he is the clear-cut best player in college football to do what he does week in and week out, playing 90+% of the snaps, to go out there, move to safety on the last play of the game because he knew he needed to make a play, move from corner to safety, goes in, gets the game-winning hit, knocks the ball out of the guy's hand, places his helmet perfectly on the ball, forces the turnover after already going for 100 yards receiving, after getting multiple touchdowns in every game they played this year besides this game against Baylor, and playing on both sides of the ball. Who is better than him in college football, in your opinion, if you think anybody's better?
Surely there's nobody better.
Yeah.
Surely there's nobody better. The only thing I'll say about Travis, and I'll have to, and this is just my critique of not him as a player, but the Heisman, he's going to have to get in the end zone a bit more.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think he has to put up, double-digit touchdowns as a wide receiver. Like, that's what I think he should be focused on. But is he going to have the chance to, man? They're covering.
Yeah.
Baylor had 4 guys on it.
That's facts.
one reason, that's one reason why the Western kid was one-on-one, because they had 4 guys.
4, yeah.
And even, here's the crazy thing. Even when the ball was in the air, the safety broke late because he was shading to the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Even when Shador was rolling right. Rolling left, I mean.
Yeah, rolling left.
He was shading to the middle of the field. Once the ball let go, the safety made a pretty good play, but he just didn't get there in time. And the hesitation of trying to hang in the middle, because I think he really thought the ball was coming to the middle of the field where Travis had ran to. Mm-hmm. And it was and it was PI. I don't care what you guys say. It was PI.
Yeah.
It should have been pass interference.
Should have been.
Now, I will say this: Shador did win the game twice, because that pass that he threw to Shepard, that should have been caught and walked in.
No
doubt. Yes.
He's way too big to be sitting up there trying to catch with his body, man. And at first I was like, man,
it was raining. I'll give you that.
I'll give you that.
It was raining.
But
it was raining.
But I've seen him drop a couple passes now throughout these first couple weeks, and I'm like, man, you gotta get that pass. So just staying on Colorado, as we got a couple minutes left, they got a real deal test coming up this weekend. How do you see Colorado being able to fare not only this weekend, they play UCF, but just for the rest of this season? Is this one of those wins that can give Colorado the confidence to be able to go out and get these wins? Because UCF isn't a team that a lot of people are going to talk about, but Colorado has struggled so far stopping the run, as Sawyer Robinson, who's a decent athlete but not a great one, he ran for 80 yards on them against Baylor. And UCF has possibly the best running back so far in the Big 12 in R.J. Harvey. He's put up over 120 yards every game. And then they got the biggest quarterback probably in the nation with K.J. Jefferson, who transferred from Arkansas. He's coming in about 6'4", 6'5", 250, and is a threat to run the ball as well. So one, how do you see them having success this weekend? And then, like I said, is what they just did against Baylor enough to give them confidence to make some real noise in the Big 12 the rest of the year?
Well, the Big 12, in my opinion, the Big 12 is wide open. There are no clear winners. This game, I'm going to take Colorado this game. I want to say they're a 14-point favorite. I'm going to take Colorado. I may even take them straight up on a bet as well. I'm going to take the 14.
Money line.
I think this is set up in a way that's probably not set up, the other teams. The bottom line is, when I evaluate these games, people are not supposed to do this, but I use the transient property. I look at how a team performed against one team, right? Mm-hmm. And it may give you an indication how they perform against another.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. Jay Hoover was 35 of 52 for 402 yards and 4 touchdowns. Do you know who Jay Hoover is?
Nuh-uh.
Good, because he's a TCU quarterback. So if he did that, what do you think Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter and those wide receivers are going to do?
I mean, that's a good point. That is a very good point.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, they barely won that game. They came back against TCU late.
Yeah,
right.
Did.
We all know TCU. Odds are TCU's probably not a very good team.
They're not.
They're not. And they fought tooth and nail with TCU. I don't get the 14-point spread. Maybe college kids, late game, let down, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. On the road. I don't really know why it's a 14-point spread, but there certainly aren't 14 points better than Colorado. I think Colorado.
Oh, so Colorado's the underdog.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, man, I'm taking. That's number one on the list.
I think Colorado, people want to fade Colorado because of the way that they play, their style of play, and the perception of how good they are, how good they aren't,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. I think Nebraska is a decent team.
Better than what people thought. Yeah.
I think if you line them up, Nebraska's a better team than Baylor.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Baylor can get a win against UCF.
Yes, they can.
I think at the end of the day, if I had to pick a team to win it all in the Big 12 this year, I'm going to pick Iowa State. I think they're they're the best team.
I'm not mad at that.
And then the rest of and then Utah. Now, as soon as Cam Rising comes back, I'm going to put Utah over Iowa State,
Mm-hmm.
But without Cam Rising, Utah is not better than Iowa State, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah,
I don't see I like Iowa State. That's not a bad pick at all. I think they're actually kind of slept on for what people see. Now, Utah did prove a lot to me in getting that win the way that they did against Oklahoma State and at Oklahoma State with the backup quarterback. I think that was big in them going out and getting that win. But I'm not mad at Iowa State. Not mad at the but like you said, this Big 12 is wide open, man. It's wide open, and it's going to be really, really exciting to watch as we go through the rest of this college football season, especially for people like myself and yourself that are watching a few different teams in this Big 12. Folks, we're running out of time, so I want to thank everybody for coming on here with us. Definitely want to thank Rocky for coming on the show with me today, and for all of you for tuning in. Make sure at 8 o'clock you guys get ready on YouTube. HBCU Coach's Corner is coming on. Rocky is going to be running that as usual. And I got a chance to go to the media day for the Cotton Bowl Classic or the PV versus Grambling State Fair Classic. State Fair Classic, yeah, on Monday. And I just want to say I'm definitely excited about that game. And it was good to be around black people, man, that are moving in the right direction, that are moving in a way of black excellence. That's just what the feel that you got from being at that media day, from around different people, from the coaches to the supporters to the media. I think they do a great job, and I'm super excited for that game. If you want to hear more about that game and more HBCU talk, Rocky, tell them where they can watch the show at tonight.
They can watch it on you can go to my channel, Rocky Miller, on YouTube, and just tune in to the HBCU Coach's Corner at 8 o'clock, man. We got a very special guest on for tonight, newly appointed athletic director at Florida A&M University. And we'll also have an appearance by the promoter of the State Fair Classic, Al Wash.
Yeah, the great Al Wash. Got a chance to meet Al Wash on Monday as well. Great guy, and what he's done what he's done for the State Fair Classic over. I think he said he's been promoting it for 49 years, man. It's really just amazing.
Incredible.
That's incredible to be able to see and for him to have a sustained career like that. Folks, want to thank you guys for tuning in with us today. We'll be back tomorrow. You can watch this show weekdays 5 to 7 on YouTube at Centex Sports Network. Make sure you go over there and subscribe. Hit that bell so you can get the notification every time we go live as well. Or you can download the app, Centex Sports One, to be able to listen from your cars and everywhere else. Download the app on the Google Play and the Apple Store. I am Jalen Gillis, your host, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Everyone have a great night.
Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all know.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the